There comes a point in every man's life when the questions begin to change. Not, how do I make more money? But, am I building the right life? Will all this work eventually buy me freedom? Will my wife, my children, and one day my grandchildren actually enjoy spending time with me? How do I retire to something instead of simply retiring from something? Those are the questions this episode is about. My guest today is my friend, Wayne Bettany. I've known Wayne for nearly 10 years, and what I've admired most isn't his career, his businesses, or even his adventures. It's his intentionality. Wayne doesn't drift through life. He makes a plan, then he patiently spends years executing it. He grew up poor in South Louisiana, became the first in his family to graduate from college, built successful businesses, raised 3 outstanding children, remained deeply connected to his family through every season of life, and today, at 77 years old, he's living a retirement that most people only dream about. Not because he got lucky, but because he built it. Today, I want to understand the principles behind that life, the value of hard work, the importance of faith, why family is your greatest legacy, why freedom requires responsibility, how to know when to plan, and when to pull the trigger. This isn't simply Wayne's story. It's a blueprint that every man, whether he's 25 or 75, can learn from. I'm Gabe Galster. Welcome to Extreme Sensibility, Wayne Bettany. Welcome to Extreme Sensibility, Wayne.
Happy to be here.
Well, I'm glad to finally have you. I know we've talked about this for a while. Just so everybody will know out there, Wayne Bettany, good friend of mine, a man that I admire in what you've done in life, but also how you've lived your life. You've lived a life with some purpose, and you know what you've achieved and how you've achieved that, and the intentionality, you know, at least from a guy standing back and watching, has been something that I've admired. And, you know, I cannot wait to let people hear some of your story, you know, some of your battles you've been through, how you've persevered, because it is something that needs to be heard in this day, especially of people that are kind of lost and disgruntled and trying to find fulfillment. So thank you again for taking the time out and coming aboard, and we're going to get this thing started.
Let's get rolling.
Yeah. So let's start in the beginning. Tell a little bit about where you started as a kid, you know, because I know that influenced you as an adult.
Yeah, it was interesting because you look back now and had a single mom. As we talked before, my parents met in Normandy on D-Day.
That's amazing.
Which is amazing. And so my father was a pilot in the Cactus Division, and he was from Des Moines, Iowa. Mm-hmm. And so after the war, they came back and lived in Iowa, and she was missing South Louisiana because her first language is French, and I guess they stayed together 5 years, had 2 kids. I have an older sister, and she said, "I'm going South Louisiana," and he said, "I'm staying in Iowa."
Yeah.
And so I kind of grew up without a dad, and then you don't know it until you get older,
right?
And now I have a son, and when he calls and says, "Hey, Dad, let's talk," and I'm like, I didn't have that,
right?
And so I'm really happy to have that on the other side as I get older. Mm-hmm. And for the people out there that are either divorced or single parent, it's hard. And you're going to wonder if you made the right decision every day of your whole life.
Right. But you grew up when y'all moved back to Louisiana,
yeah.
Eunice,
yeah.
Louisiana,
yeah.
rice farming with your grandfather. Was
yeah.
that right?
Yeah. And we had Black Angus cattle, typical farm life, mm-hmm. chickens and
right.
all that stuff. And then my uncle that I mentioned in your questionnaire
right.
Was a Navy CB. And so after the war, he came back, and in Eunice, he set up Aguilar's Iron Works.
Oh.
He was a welder because that's what CBs
right.
do.
Yeah.
And for the people that don't know, CBs are the construction branch of the Navy. When they're doing an invasion, they got to go in and build airports and bridges and everything, and their crest is a rifle in one hand and a hammer in the other.
Right.
And they're getting shot while they're building stuff.
Yeah.
So he was an amazing, smart guy, and he had a welding shop. He could he could roll his own pipe. And so that was rice country. So he was 90% working on farm equipment,
Right.
big combines and tractors and all that stuff, pumps. Yeah. And man, for a 10, 12-year-old kid, before high school, I'm like, this is paradise. I spent every day I could in his shop.
Right.
12 years old, I'm welding and sweeping the shop at the end of the day. But I watched how he treated his money. Mm-hmm. Every dollar bill he ever made was flat and straight and square in his wallet.
One day appreciated.
We were going to buy fish, buy shiners to go crappie fishing. Mm-hmm. Sakalay, they call it down there. Yep. And he opens his wallet, and boy, that money was perfect.
Right.
It's funny the things you
pick up on.
Yep. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've seen, in life is that people that truly work hard for their money and came from very little appreciate it. And even today, I'm not going to walk past change laying on the street.
Oh, I never.
And it's not because I'm cheap. It's because I appreciate that. Oh, and I think if you walk past it, that's some bad karma.
I can't. A penny or 50 cents or quarter, I can't either.
Right.
I'll stop in the middle of the street and so get hit by a car.
Yeah.
But I remember him doing that, and but I saw how hard he worked.
Right.
In South Louisiana, man, it's 100 degrees. You're in a welding shop.
Mm-hmm. You're putting
with sparks all over and full clothes because it's hot and you're dangerous what you're doing.
So you were basically raised by two World War II veterans.
That's it, yeah.
From the greatest generation
100%.
That knew hard work and independence, and nobody was going to be there to save them. They had to make it themselves. I mean, did y'all have money? Did you not?
Nobody just, living on the farm during the Depression. My mother would tell me stories. They get that cheap lesser level of molasses to give the cows.
All right.
And we had a molasses rub. And she said, I can't tell you how many days for dinner we had cornbread and milk and molasses, cow molasses.
Right.
But they had a huge garden. I remember sitting on the porch concrete steps with my grandma snapping beans and shucking peas and corn and everything. Mm-hmm. So she said, we didn't know we were poor because we were eating great and having fun.
Yep. Had family around.
We had crawfish 10 months a year because they followed the water. And we had chicken and we had sheep and we had Angus cattle and she said, we didn't know we were poor because we were living good.
Yeah. I talked to my great-grandmother. They were farmers in Stuttgart. And I remember as a kid, which is kind of a strange conversation to have as a child with your great-grandmother, but I'd heard about the Great Depression and how horrible it was. I think we might have been learning in elementary school back when they taught those things. But I asked her about it and she was like, "Oh yeah, I was very much alive. And me and your great grandfather were married, during that period." And I said, "Well, what was it like?" And she was like, "We really didn't know any different. Everybody was poor back then, other than not having some of the commodities, especially as they got into World War II, which I understand that not the Great Depression era." She said that was more of a shake-up, the commodity restriction in World War II than actually what they experienced in the Great Depression. So it was just self-sufficient people. And, that has to have impacted your life as you move forward out of childhood and into adulthood. I know looking back on just my experiences and how that positively and negatively.
Watching him open that wallet to buy just for shiners.
Right.
But it connected to how hard he worked to get there.
Right.
And I remember one day, it's funny that we did a million things. And one day a guy rides up in a big Oldsmobile 98. It was big as an aircraft carrier. You remember that? Big old 4-door, brand new Oldsmobile 98.
Right.
Pulls up to the front door of the shop. And my uncle was fixing his one piece of equipment. I don't know what. He gets out of that car. He was in an coverall, no shirt, So he's greasy and sweaty and dirty shoes in this brand new, beautiful Oldsmobile.
Right.
And I'm like, holy cow. He's
high roller.
And then he walks up to my uncle and he was making pipe for take the water. They don't have all the synthetic stuff like they do today to run the water from the well to where he needed it. And he said, how much do I owe you? My uncle's name was Roy. And he said, $2,000 or $3,000. So, 50 years ago, 60 years ago. God, I was 12. That's 60 years ago. A lot of money. He pulled out his wallet and it was full of $100 bills. And he counted out, I guess, 20 or 30. And I'm watching this guy in coveralls with a brand new car, but covered in dirt.
Right.
And that taught me, number one, never underestimate what somebody looks like.
Right. I've gotten to see
if
that.
you saw this guy on the street, you'd think he's a hobo.
Right. And he's walking around with
a
fortune in his pocket.
Brand new big old Oldsmobile 98, which was a big, fine car.
Yeah.
And a wallet full of $100 bills.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned to look at people and you don't know.
Yeah, don't judge that book by the cover.
Be careful. Yeah, that was a real lesson.
Sometimes when the cover's beat up pretty good, you can. It's a whole
you make a
different
judgment.
Story.
It's all natural for all of us to make judgments.
Yeah.
We should never judge anybody.
Exactly.
You don't know where they came from.
Well, growing up down in Eunice, which I'm a little familiar with that community, being that my wife's family is just south of there.
Yeah.
And not a whole lot going other than crawfish, rice, and some cattle and oil. Yeah. So when did you decide that you were going somewhere else, that you were college? I mean, that has to have been a big deal for y'all.
The family, me and my sister were the first generation to go to college.
Right.
And this gets back to the war, but it's Vietnam. So when I was draft age, now I had an uncle in Elton, Louisiana. One of my mother's sisters lived in Elton, Louisiana, big population, 1,200.
Yeah.
It's the other side of Basile and Kinder. It's a small.
Little one.
And they had a dry goods store there, but my uncle was the director of the draft board.
Mm.
So he sat me and my cousin, his son, down and said, Vietnam. And I watched something probably 3 days ago about Lyndon Johnson. Lyndon Johnson's philosophy about Vietnam, about war in general, was overwhelm people.
Right.
Overwhelm with fire, with soldiers, just numbers, throw numbers at them. Well, those numbers were dying.
Mm-hmm.
And so my uncle said, you guys are draft eligible and it's real likely you're going to go to Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, they had a 4-year deferment if you went to college.
Right.
So went to college, stay out of Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to stay caught up.
Right.
If you're a freshman at the end of your freshman year, you have to qualify to be a sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't, you go in the draft.
Yeah.
So 2 years into my college, the NAACP said that was racist.
Mm-hmm.
Because the white college boys, even though I had 3 jobs some semesters, and one year I took 18 hours in a 3-hour correspondence course.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to get out because college was expensive. But so the NAACP sued, and it turned out, I don't remember what the ruling was, but they ruled in their favor. That's when they did the birthday draft.
Mm.
You know what that is?
No, I'm not familiar with that.
You never heard of that?
No.
Okay, so 2 years in, I'm a fraternity guy. I live in the fraternity house. I was a fraternity house manager, which means I got free room and board.
Right.
So I had another job at a bank. I was a teller at a bank. So I had a lot of jobs.
Mm-hmm.
But so they got rid, this is history for you. They got rid of a 4-year deferment, and they said you only have a deferment. Now, you're only going to be draft eligible based on your birthday. So we had a party. And what they did on live television nationwide, drawing names.
I remember my dad mentioning drawing names on TV.
When's your birthday?
Right.
When's your birthday?
January 31st.
Okay, so they're going along. January 31st, you're number 2. And you're like, okay, I'm going to join the Air Force.
Right.
If you were in the top 100, you were most likely to get drafted. And we had a party. We had a band. They'd play a song and they'd say, okay, January 31st, here you are. And they would announce everybody's date. I got 226. So my uncle called me and my cousin, and he got 180 something. Mm-hmm. And he said, you guys are most likely to not be drafted based on your birthday. Mm-hmm. And so they couldn't say that was racial. It's based on everybody's got a birthday.
Right. Yeah.
And that's how the change happened. And that's how the birthday thing happened.
Yeah. I'd heard bits and pieces of that. I didn't know how the evolution occurred. So you were, I guess I
was celebrating.
Yeah. Celebrated. And
if you were 365, you were never going to go.
Right. And what year was that roughly?
You have to look, but I'm going to say 1969.
Okay. All right. So
that's pretty accurate. I think that's
so. That was
accurate.
at the heat of the conflict.
And then, so 4 years later, 4 years after I started, Vietnam was winding down. Right. Plus, I had a high number. Mm-hmm.
So you finished up, and what were you majoring in?
Marketing and I got a BS in marketing.
Right.
And then got a second degree. They gave me a second degree in psychology, so I have a double major. And then I went to Northwestern State and got an MBA. Okay. All right.
And then what happens next?
Got a job. I was a Kappa Sig at fraternity, and the TV station, CBS station, WFB, was looking to add some salespeople. And so I did a couple of interviews, and they liked me, and they said, we're going to have one of our sales guys take you to lunch. So a guy named David Neer, who later got in the barge business. David was one of my mentors.
All right.
I bought my first apartments from David Neer. We wrote a deal on a napkin, 1978. But David took me to lunch, and he found out I was a Kappa Sig. He was a Kappa Sig at USL in Lafayette.
Right.
And I was a Kappa Sig in Baton Rouge. So we're having lunch, and then he saw my Kappa Sig ring. Mm-hmm. And he said, you're a Kappa Sig. So we drank a pitcher of beer at lunch.
That always helps the business.
And he went back and recommended they hired me. So my first job was actually with the Hertz truck division, but that didn't last long. So my first real job was WFB.
All right. And so along that way, when I guess, when you're young, you get your first job. I mean, you're kind of narrow focused.
Yeah.
It's kind of on at least for me, it was on myself.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
And just surviving,
100%.
just trying to make it from paycheck to paycheck.
Oh,
and
100%.
Rent payment to rent payment. When did you start evolving in a bigger picture? You're working at the broadcast stations and kind of finding your way there. Is that something that you saw yourself sticking with?
Well, I knew I wanted to get married and have kids.
Right.
Why, I can't tell you. I just knew there was something more to life than being single.
Right.
And I had a group of single friends from Pankerville down there by Homa. And one of my roommates was from Pankerville, Bobby Daigles, and he's a doctor in San Francisco now. But his father was the coroner for Assumption Parish. And his family was the owner of Lula Plantation. Mm-hmm. Lula it's still today, I think it's 26,000 acres of sugarcane.
Wow.
They own that. So that was the rich people.
Right.
I didn't come from money. Bobby came from money. So I got to see that. But we went to, and they had a camp on Grand Isle, and we went diving and fishing. But I saw their family life. And there was 8 kids, 7 boys and a girl. Mm-hmm. And I remember when their grandfather, Clovis Daigles, we went to his 96th birthday party.
Wow.
And I saw the family atmosphere, all the kids, grandkids. Clovis danced with every woman there. He danced till 1 or 2 in the morning. But I saw the closeness of family, and I said, I want to have family and kids.
Right.
And
do you think some of that was also driven for what you didn't have as a child?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's it's amazing how God kind of guides us through life. With those examples that come in, one of the things that stood out to me, in my direction, we came from a fairly large, diverse family, and that was always fun and exciting and entertaining. But also seeing within my wife's family, we started dating so young, the stability there, and the real closeness of that, and trying to blend those two dynamics is what we shot for. And I think we did all right.
You're doing
with it.
good. You're
we
doing
did
good.
all right. So that was cool that you had that close relationship to your roommate and your buddy, and got to see that big picture. And so that started giving you some direction, at least a point out there that you were going to work toward.
They finally kind of adopted me because the camp on Grand Isle, and you had boats, and you've been you know the lure of the Gulf of Mexico. It's
absolutely.
just unreal. My
In
favorite
your blood.
place, favorite place in the world. And so they would have a stroke of the boat weekend, where all we did is wax and clean. We're not going fishing.
Yep, working.
And then once a year they would have a stroke to camp. And so we got there, and you take pictures of your fish at the end of a trip. You've posted a lot of those. Right. We took pictures of all of us with 30, 40 cans of paint. Like our trophy was what we did.
Yeah.
So I got there, I said, what's the dirtiest job? What's the job that nobody wants to do? They painted their creosote pilings. They're big 12, 18-inch piling. Bright red, enamel red, oil-based red.
Doesn't come off.
And it's 100 degrees.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to do that job. I said, I'll do that job.
Right.
So the rest
became the favorite.
The next 20 years, when they need to invite somebody,
right,
I always got invited. Because they knew I wasn't afraid of work.
Exactly. Yeah, the 4-letter word now.
So because I didn't grow up with a boat or a camp or anything like that.
Right.
And I see my house here on Lake Hamilton is kind of the beginning of my family doing that.
Right.
I hope my grandkids' kids come to that house.
Exactly. Well, you're doing a great job at instilling that and offering it up. So, you're a young guy, you're working in the industry, you're getting to the taste of what is possible, and kind of setting those goals for life. What happens next? What's the next big?
Well, I met my eventual wife.
Right.
And literally at the end of the first date, I said, okay, that's the woman I'm going to marry. I'm young.
How that happens.
I don't know how that happens. I don't know if it happened to you or not.
Oh, yeah.
And we got married. We stayed married 26 years, just grew apart.
Right.
But we, and I was working my tail off, so she did a great job raising the kids. We always went to church, and you feel, and I don't know how you did with Gabe Jr. and Noah, but you don't want to push anything on them.
Right, exactly.
Religion in particular.
Probably to an extreme on my end of it, but yes.
Religion in particular, you have to set an example and let them make the choice.
Right.
So we went to First Southern Baptist in Bryant, and the kids loved going because every Wednesday night they had a youth group. And they had live music, and they're singing and dancing and having good food and hanging out with their friends.
All right.
So they got to see religion without anybody pushing it on them. And it tickles my heart now when I see my son is really involved in his church in Florida. And I'm like, okay, we didn't do that. He did that.
Right.
But he got it from somewhere. And one of the most shocking thing about Charlie Kirk dying for me, because my son in Florida, he sent me messages about the time Obama got elected and said, you're being too political. And I had been political my whole life. United States on the right track. Charlie Kirk dies. And I was talking to Marshall one day, and he said, he mentioned something. I said, so did you follow Charlie Kirk? He said, I have seen everything he's put on video since the very first day.
All right.
I didn't know it. That was shocking and fulfilling at the same time. Yeah. I'm like, wow, he got it. If he's following Charlie Kirk, he's got the message.
Yes. Yeah, it's so rewarding because in the end, that's what we hope for our children. We're trying to lead them, instill in them certain values, hoping that they take it and run with it, but you can't force it. You can just put it out there. I use the analogy, and I will continue because it's one thing. I grew up in a musical family, and we were surrounded by musical instruments.
Oh, cool.
But we were never forced to play them. In my house, we have guitars on the wall, and we had pianos, and we had everything else. And my kids, they were there if you felt the calling.
Yeah.
But we weren't going to make you do it, So, religion and life in general is that's the way that we've tried to approach things. And maybe I gave them a little too much, and
they're watching. So,
but they watch it. But it's so rewarding to see that. But family, I know is a huge part to you. It's a huge part to me. And our recognition that we're only here on this earth for a short period of time, and that balance that we have to strike with enjoyment of life and fulfillment of life and what we leave in the end. When did you, I know in my life, again, early on, you're just focused on the grind.
Yep.
Everything's being thrown at you. You're not wise yet.
Oh,
you haven't lived enough life.
Yeah.
When did you start thinking beyond just the day-to-day, year-to-year? Because you switched around. I mean, you went into restaurants, right, which I admire now. I have a whole new respect for people that not only go into restaurranting but succeed in it.
It's the hardest business in the world,
and I am 100% with you on that one now. But when did you start saying, okay, I've got to start figuring out where I want to land?
Probably not till about your age, 50.
Right.
I
don't feel as bad now.
No, it's right.
That's kind of
because you're busy until you're about 50.
Right.
And you're about to have your first grandchild.
Yes.
That's going to change things.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you're lucky enough to make it to 50, a lot of people don't. I think it was about 50. Mm-hmm. And okay, 60's around the corner.
Right.
And I think it was about 50. Mm-hmm. So for the people out there that are worrying, if they're 30, 40, just stop now and make a plan. Say, where do you want to be when you're 65? I didn't want to be an old person and be broke.
Right.
That was scary.
Yeah.
Now, if I knew what I knew now about business, I'd have millions of dollars, but you don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And so I've used that, and all three of my kids are set. They're all going to be very successful because just stupid things like the S&P 500.
Well, that's a good, good
if
point.
I put extra cash, quit chasing the rabbit, so to speak,
mm-hmm.
chasing a quick buck, doing this, do that. If you take every extra dollar you have and put it in the S&P 500, you're going to be ahead of 99.9% of the world.
Yes.
And put it in there and forget it.
Yeah. And one of my things, I mean, again, you're just focused on living every paycheck.
Oh, up till 50, you're busy.
Yeah. But that playing the long game and not being distracted from that point that you set. If that, because the goal with the system is to dissuade you from where you're wanting to go.
100%.
So, there's going to be those times, and I've been guilty of this as well, where I invest, and then you're scared to death, Y2K, you name it. Everything falls apart. Oh, the banks are going to fail. Oh, everything's going to fail. You want to pull all your money out. You want to do something different. Yeah, if you just stick with it and understand that this is a cycle, there's a cycle that will occur, but be diligent about it and have those goals achievable.
Yeah.
Don't make it so difficult that you are destined to fail. Set it where it's achievable and predictable and something you can work with. One of the other things that I know you've mentioned, and it's something that subconsciously I did for a long time, and then more consciously, is, and I'm wanting to give some younger guys or guys even up to my age, advice on life and where we're at and how do you move forward with a plan. One of the things that I've seen that is evident in our society now, and I'm talking about from people who make millions of dollars to people who make tens of thousands of dollars, we are being pushed to live beyond our means.
Oh, let's keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah. And it is more prevalent now than I've ever witnessed it. But beyond living beyond your means, what I have always tried to do is live not even to my means, live below my means. Always have that little bit of reserve, that second plan. Now, when I was young, I couldn't do that. I didn't have enough to do it. But that is something that I've always tried to do, and in a way, that was my investment in the future. And that's what allowed me to take chances as well in business.
That's pretty smart.
Where I knew that if I did fail at this, we weren't going to lose everything. And some of that came from a little bit of insecurity growing up, but it was beneficial in the long run. I mean, how did you balance all that out?
Well, I learned the hard way because I lost a lot of money, made a lot of money, and lost a lot of money. The problem with people that make a lot of money, they have a hit, and they think. I have a guy. His name is Mike Newfield. We graduated together. We were fraternity brothers together. He got a degree in petroleum engineering. Went to Houston. One day I see in a fraternity newsletter, whatever, he's got a 62-foot Swan in Galveston. It's a custom-made boat.
Yeah.
And so we had a reunion. Said, Newfield, what'd you do? And so the word got out. He made $40 million in an oil deal. 4 years later, he was broke. And so we were at a party. I said, Newfield, you didn't put $10 million aside in case. And what happens is kind of what you're talking about. When you make it easy, you think it's always going to be easy.
Right.
And like I said, up and down. Well, he was up, spent all his money because he thought this was easy. I could do it again. Do you know in his life he never had a hit like that ever again? Right. Now, he got back on his feet and he made millions, but not 40. Like he might have made 6 in his whole life, but he made 40 as a young 28-year-old petroleum engineer. He got a hit.
Yeah.
And he thought it was going to be there all the time. Right. And it's not.
Yeah, that was one of the greatest advice that my uncle gave me. He said, Gabe, this was when we were young. We had just built our first house. I mean, I was about to stick a for sale sign up on it before we even finished because we were so broke trying to do it. But went over there and he was just talking about life. And he said, you will hit it. Everybody does. And you will make some money at some point in your life. He said, it's what you do with it that's going to be how the rest of your life plays out. And, that stuck with me. We built our business, had a lot of great breaks and were blessed in a lot of ways, had the opportunity to sell it. And that was one of the resounding things that stuck in my back of my head is, okay, for the first time and maybe the only time in your life, you are going to have some money. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
The tendency is I've worked so hard, I want to go enjoy it.
Right.
I want to go travel. I want to buy a bigger boat. I
want the big truck, whatever.
But his words of advice stuck. And so what did we do? We invested in our businesses. We bought another business. Yeah. We worked harder. I'm still waiting to see how this all plays out. But one thing we didn't do is blow it, And had I not had that advice earlier in life that was meaningful because he lived that, I wouldn't have known. I might have done.
You were lucky because I didn't have that advice.
Right. And that's what we're trying to do, through this podcast. Just put that out there and let some people chew on it a little bit.
Well, you can have a plan too, and then something external blows your plan. So one of my businesses I had was a tanning salon. And people don't know the story because it was Obama and they buried it. He put a 10% tax on tanning. And the government tried to restrict 12-year-old, 13-year-old couldn't come in and tan.
Right.
So,
I do remember hearing that. Yeah.
So when I got into business, there were 19,000 tanning salons in America. We had a lobby group. When Obama finished, he thought these people, you own a business, you're a millionaire. No, that 10% was their profit.
Right.
You're doing And the people that ran the tanning salon were 93% women. So after Obama's years, probably the sixth year of his 8 years, there were only 8,600 tanning salons left.
Wow.
82,000 women lost their jobs because tanning salons are 93% women.
Right.
Women-owned business.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't see that on the news, did you? So
Right.
I had this tan salon. It was going to be part of my retirement. I was going to sell it for $250,000. I ended up selling it for $60,000.
Right.
He killed the government, got in, put a tax on your business, tried to restrict people coming in, and killed the tanning business. That was part of my retirement.
Right. And, and you have to be resilient when those things happen.
Yeah. So I didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
The damn politicians killed my business.
Right. And those are things that are out of your control.
You can't plan that.
You can't plan it. Yeah. That's one of the scary things in our system is the unpredictability of it. And also, when you're dealing with a culture and with increasingly politicians who have never lived a real life.
Never had a business.
They've never worked. They've never employed people, never run a business, and they're making policy that affects us. It's terrifying. I think that should be a requirement. It's that you should have had to manage people, been in a service industry of some type to end up being a political
have some kind of
decision maker.
Well, didn't in the founding fathers? Did you ever read about the right to vote for the original people?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you had to have a business,
right,
or be in commerce, or be a farmer, or something like that. You had to
have skin in the game.
Exactly what you're talking about for the right to vote.
Right.
And so they asked the founding father, well, what about the people that are handicapped or legitimately can't work?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, we'll take care of them.
Right.
But the key was legitimately can't work.
Right.
Because you measure the greatness of a nation not only in the things we are obvious, military and economy and everything, but the greatness of a nation is how do they take care of the people that can't take care of themselves?
Absolutely.
But the problem we have now is we have almost 50% of the people don't work, and 30% of those could work. Mm-hmm. They're just sitting home getting their check.
Right.
They have the system.
Well, and back to and that's a whole nother discussion.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
When you have people that are able to vote in their own benefits, that's a problem.
Oh, yeah.
Or like politicians voting in their own raises and voting in their own vacations and voting in their own health care.
We've got to stop.
We've got a real problem because it redirects it for everyone else.
I think the only thing that'll save America is term limits.
Right.
And maybe you'll get, and they other things that Trump proposed, term limits, but get rid of their health care. They have the same health care the rest of us have.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I don't know if he can get that done in the next 2.5 years.
It seems to be a lot of opposition on both sides. And, that's one of the things that's been it's always been talked about, but it's been increasingly evident with what we've seen over the past year is that, both sides are, they're the same.
Terrible.
They're drinking the same bathwater.
No, it's terrible. And the Supreme Court. So I've been single 15 years now. Mm-hmm. A couple years after I became single, I was visiting my son in Florida, and I met a lady from Miami, and so ended up dating her for a while. She was Russian, and so we were, I'd go spend a month down there and come back here, and so one time I had a trip planned, and she said, I can't, I'll be gone for a month. I said, what are you doing? And she said something about she was a nurse. Mm-hmm. And so after months and months later, after we got more involved, turns out she was the tourism babies.
Oh.
A rich Russian would plan up, they're 8 months pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
They would put them up at Doral. They paid her $25,000 a month.
Wow.
She stayed with the pregnant lady at Doral. So I said, so you got to live at a fabulous resort, got paid $25,000 a month, and you're helping people become
birthright citizens.
Birthright citizens.
Yeah.
This was 15 years ago. So there's a whole industry. And to have Amy Coney Barrett and Roberts.
Yeah. I was shocked by that in a way
shocked.
because we, growing up in the United States, obviously, and being able to have the opportunity to travel outside of the United States and deal with lots of people from different countries, I'd always heard about birthright citizenship.
Yeah.
I assumed that it was something that most nations offered. It is not.
No.
We are like one of the
very few left.
That do that. And I think that that's a common misconception among our population on a lot of our immigration policies is that, we offer more latitude in our immigration than just about any other country. My mom is of Irish descent and has traveled extensively back and forth to Ireland over years, and finally saved up enough to buy her a little place over there. She's close to your age, and all she wanted to do was to get a just her residency, so that she could save on car insurance
in Ireland.
Oh, man. So she could have her car there.
That's funny.
She is self-sufficient. She has money enough to take care of herself. She's not looking for health care, nothing else. She has gone through absolute hell. She's not renouncing her citizenship. She's not asking for it, just a legal residency. Just so she could save on car insurance.
Yeah.
And bought a house and has invested in Ireland, and still cannot. And this is Ireland.
Yeah.
If we look also into, for instance, Mexico. Mexico has some of the most restrictive citizenship requirements of just about any place in Central and South America. You or I, for us to be able to become citizens of Mexico, would be almost impossible.
Yeah. And here you just...
Yet we're expected here to just open the borders up and let whoever, whatever, come through. There's no reciprocity, and there's no, it's only in the Western societies that we're expected to do this, because the others aren't, and they never have. And even, with my mom in Ireland, Western society, she is being singled out because of who she is. Had she been a refugee, it'd been a whole different story.
Oh my God.
And that's what we're starting to see, over there especially, is that, it's not a balanced system. It's a very, very selective system.
Reagan is the one that said, freedom is fragile. It can then disappear in one generation, and it's coming.
Right.
And
well, with your experience in life and having seen things, we can go ahead and dive off into this a little bit. What do you see as our greatest challenge to our society right now?
It's our own politicians. You got 456 people, whatever, if you count Senate and the House, maybe 546, whatever it is. It's not many.
Mm-hmm.
And they've lost their way. They don't know. We're electing people like that Crockett lady in Texas, that low IQ.
Mm-hmm.
How do they put that? What is that purple hair lady that's in the United States Senate?
Oh yeah.
To call someone a United States senator, that's one of the 100 of the most powerful people in the world. And then some of these people are just morons.
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders has been a communist since day one.
Mm-hmm.
When he got married 80 years ago, whatever it is, they went to China for the honeymoon. Bernie's never had a job, and he's one of the 100 people in the United States Senate. So our threat is our own politicians. We gotta stop them. And like you said, they make the rules.
Yeah, they make the rules.
So
and I look at that as well. I mean, when you look at, you see it on TV, on the news, and you're seeing these characters up there. And really on both sides. Now, the Democrats are absolutely loaded up with
They're
them.
Crazy left. We're just a little bit.
Yeah. The Republicans have some ones I have a rough time accepting as well. But, you look at how, that's what I find myself at. How do these people get elected? I mean, what is going through our our population's mind to say that these are who we want leading. And I can't help but go back to the blame game. They're the ones that tell people, you are not succeeding because of this. It's not because of you. You did nothing wrong.
Right.
It's because of this group or this person or this system that's against you. And because one of the things that I do see is they constantly want to erode our foundations.
100%. Like, look at this guy, Mandami, 34-year-old that's only been a citizen 8 years.
Right.
And now he's telling us about our history, 250-year history.
Right.
And he's a full-blown communist,
Yeah.
and he got elected in New York City.
And the way that he's phrasing that, the symbolism that he's going for and the way that he works his words is admirable in a way. I hate using that word. He's smart about what he's doing because he understands how to manipulate people. But if you dive into what he said standing in front of George Washington's desk,
yeah, that was scary.
It is it's this it's in a shrouded way paying homage to the greatness of the United States, but that's not really what he's doing. He's saying, yeah, we're great, but we can be greater, and greater in his mind.
And this is how we do it.
Is through communism. Yeah. Is through diversity. Diversity is not a strength when you're talking about your nation. It's okay as individuals. Yeah. We all want to be special. We all want to have our own story, and that's wonderful. But nationalistic pride and the way that we constitutionally operate, we do not need diversity in that. That divides. Diversity divides. And that's what they're feeding on. They're keeping us all divided. They're forcing that down. They're finding ways to erode what has built us and make that appear evil and the blame. And it's sickening and terrifying at the same time to watch it occur.
Well, if you study Adolf Hitler, Mandami is coming to power the way Hitler. Mm-hmm. Hitler was considered a wacko by the Nazi Party. Mm-hmm. They said, this guy's crazy.
Right.
And he was over there screaming and hollering in the alleyway with 200 followers. And then all of a sudden he's got 20,000 followers. And they said, well, look what he can draw.
Right.
And because he was so crazy and so far
well, out, he was saying the attention, he was getting the attention.
Getting the attention like Mandami.
Yeah. Yeah.
And only 38% of Republicans vote. So it's our own fault.
Right.
How he got elected in New York City, I still don't understand that.
Right. And, the thing that blows me away with communism, because let's just face it, that's the goal with that. They can say democratic socialist, whatever.
There's no such thing as a democratic socialist.
It is communism. As a studier of history as well and humanity, as you are and I try to be, how can we keep going back to that well and thinking that the water is going to taste sweeter? It has failed over and over again. And the thing that is most evident to me is it is this people's movement. It's veiled. It actually concentrates power in a more tyrannical way than any other system other than, I would say even more than sometimes in monarchies. But it is just evident what the process goes through and how eventually the people that started the revolution end up being the ones on the guillotines, the ones in the gulags, and because it is focused on concentrating that power in a very, very small sphere.
Well, so they got Muslims in every state in the country, and it's like the cancer that's going to grow. But the difference is, and this is where it's going to happen, another generation, I'll probably be gone. We have 400 million guns. Mm-hmm. It's going to come to a head.
Right.
When they're going to say one day, you got to give up your gun. I'm like, nope,
All right. Well, I think that the Second Amendment is one of the most attacked rights that we have.
And
there's a reason for it, is because it is truly what differentiates the United States and the citizenry of the United States from the rest of the world.
It's the way we can fight back.
Yeah. And everybody, well, Biden liked to say we've got tactical nukes, we've got drones, we've got this, and that's true.
Yeah.
But you look at how, for instance, Afghanistan was able to stand their ground pretty well, with just,
camels
small arms,
camels
and
and junk guns,
yeah.
and they fought the Russians and won, and they got us out of there too.
Exactly. So that's it still gives us that potential, and is one of the rights that we cannot let.
Well, I've got cousins in Australia, in Adelaide, and we discovered our there's only 4 Bettany's in the whole country of Australia, but we did genealogy back to like 1760, and my sister that does the genealogies, the Matt Bettany in Australia, we started visiting each other every year. For the last 12 years. They come to here. They love Vegas. They love New York. And so I asked him one day, said, how did the government get your guns? And he said, just one day they said, we got to turn in our guns. And we did. I said, are you crazy?
Yeah.
If the government came out next week and said, everybody's got to turn in their guns, we're going to say no.
Right. And it's going to be a problem.
But Australia, as big as a country, they voluntarily
turned
in 2018, maybe, I'd have to look, maybe my date's wrong, but not long ago.
Right.
One day they turned in their guns.
Yep. I remember
Can
when
you
that
imagine that happening in the USA?
And when you do that, you're turning in your freedom.
Your ability to fight back.
And your liberty. And that was one of the most amazing things about our forefathers that wrote our Constitution and Bill of Rights. That had never been done in any other country or system preceding that, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
Because the last thing a government wants to do is empower the people.
Oh, God, yes.
And, that was granting that empowerment to the best of their ability at that time. Because
at the time,
at the time we had, muzzle loading, flintlocks and cannons were just muzzle loaders too. So, the weaponry that they were empowering the populace with was military grade. In some cases, much better because they ended up with rifles instead of just smoothbore muskets that were much more accurate. But, that empowerment of liberty that was granted to, and the foundation to the United States, has to be protected. And it's what everything else builds on. Just like in our lives, we have certain foundations that we have to live by, faith being a big part of it, and family as well.
Yeah.
And I believe that is why those things are being attacked mercilessly.
Well, it's foundation.
Yeah.
They're going after the foundation. In 1929 or 30 is when Hitler got the guns like they did in Australia. And that was his first step to control the population. And he said, you don't need a gun because we'll protect you. Just call this number. And they turned in their guns.
Yeah.
Like Australia, they just turned in their guns.
The law-abiding citizen.
That's just dumb.
Yeah.
And so you get back to the faith part. I think the faith and freedom go together.
Yes. Yep. It definitely gives you your grounding and your purpose, and the bigger picture as well.
Yeah.
Because kind of going back to life in general, life is tough.
Every day.
It is tough. It's a battle. And you have to have things that you're working towards and that are keeping you focused. Family, obviously. That's an easy one.
Yeah.
I've got to support these people. I've got to be there for them. I want to see them grow up better off than I was.
That's every parent's goal.
Yeah.
Every parent wants their kids to have a better life than they did.
Yeah. And then the faith component that fills that space in you that can't be filled by anything else. Believe me, I've tried to fill it with all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I found faith that I realized, what I was missing.
What made you find that faith?
Well, to be honest with you, it was I'm not using this lightly. It was the revelation that occurred after Charlie Kirk's assassination. I've mentioned it before on the podcast, and anybody that'll listen, because it was so powerful. I'd followed Charlie Kirk to a degree.
Yeah.
Had actually seen him as a teenager on Fox just for that blurb
Really?
when he first started coming on the scene and was talking about his organization, and then just followed him on social media in my feed.
Yeah.
I was admiring his courage to stand up in the crucible of hate that he had picked.
Watch him on campus.
And I love seeing him, fighting for traditional values. While I was not Christian, I did still have the morality and the value system that was Western, and I did never recognize his Christianity. I recognized his intellect, his drive, his
patriotism,
and his compassion, but his real firm and unwavering foundation. What I didn't recognize is what truly was giving him that courage, that drive. And it wasn't until after he died when I was just kind of hit with this overwhelming, powerful response that I could not explain. I went back and I was watching his excerpts, and I realized it was faith that was pushing him. It was faith that was giving him that strength, that courage. And I'd never seen faith as a courageous thing. I'd kind of seen it as a weakness. Not kind of, I absolutely did. I thought that it was kind of a shield that people that were weak-minded hid
for
behind.
Convenience.
Yeah.
If you watch an hour, not to interrupt, but if you watch an hour of some of his campus visits, if you will, where they were attacking him with every question, you can watch an hour of that sometime, and the subject of faith never comes up.
Right.
His patriotism come up, and he'll quote the Constitution, and then in some instances he would quote something from the Bible, but he used it not to hammer people with his faith.
Right.
He just used it as a piece of information to support his argument.
Right.
So he wasn't trying to tell you need to read the Bible. He would say, this is what the Bible says about that.
Right.
I didn't say it. And so you're right. He didn't.
So I wasn't, and that's why he was not offensive to me.
Exactly.
Had he been, up on the pulpit preaching.
Yep.
I would have turned him off.
Like a preacher on Sunday.
Yeah. That was like, that was my kryptonite. But that's not how he did it. And so through this, just this movement within me, I felt the need to explore more deeply where was I at in life. What did that mean? And what was going on, why, what was this new feeling that I was feeling?
Yeah.
And it took lots of many, many hours of exploration within myself to find that and actually realize that, it was God talking to me. I'd pushed it away for a long time, but this was a pinnacle. And
did your parents go to church on Sunday?
Oh yeah.
What church?
Presbyterian.
Yeah.
And we were very involved in church. But part of that involvement, my parents were involved in the youth group. They were all musical. We were in the choirs, and we had an amazing youth ministry through the Presbyterian church that we were a part of. A lot of fun to go to as a kid. All my buddies were there. And
I said, that Wednesday my kids
we got to do trips and things. But as I got in my teenage years, the church went through a great upheaval. In that there were a lot of really bad things happening and bad people involved. So the hypocrisy that evolved out of that blanketed my view of religion in general. And it got me questioning everything about it.
Yeah.
And so I turned my back on it totally, went rogue.
How old were you when you turned your back?
Probably about 14.
Well, I was 14.
Young. Yeah. Well, Wayne, you mentioned that when you were my age, in your 50s, that was kind of when you started figuring things out a little bit of
Right.
where you wanted to go in life. I mean, what was your, as they say, your aha moment?
The aha moment actually was younger, but I was overwhelmed, and I had a lot of responsibility, and almost to the point where you're like, I need to go talk to a psychiatrist. And then I was listening to the radio, and this is back before they had all these talk shows. One guy brought it up, and what he said is when he was struggling one time is the most motivating words I ever heard. And the phrase was, if it is to be, it's up to me.
I love that.
And I went, what's that, about 8 words? It's not much. And I still tell myself that. What do you want to do in life? Where do you want to go? How many kids you want to have? What do you want to do? One day you're going to wake up, if you're lucky, and say, I'm old.
Right.
But all along that path, you're trying to say, I'm tired, I'm overwhelmed. Can I get to the American dream? Who's going to help me? And you got to stop right there. Nobody's going to help you.
Up to you.
If it is to be, it's up to me.
Yeah.
And I was in sales, and I was training salespeople. Probably started training people in 1983. And I would tell them all that. Everybody's looking for somebody to give them the golden ticket.
Right.
You're not going to get a golden ticket. Unless you win the lottery, you're not going to get the golden ticket. And most of the lottery winners go broke.
They burn it.
So somewhere in your life, if it's today or next week or next month or next year, and if you're 20 or you're 50, whatever you're accomplishing in life is up to you, period. When you get up in the morning, what's the old saying? You can look in the mirror and say, I'm going to have a good day or a bad day. It's up to you.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the things, the psychology of thinking positive. We get so wrapped into the, negative of life.
100%.
And the reality is that every situation has a positive and a negative connotation to it, or a way of looking at it. And, even simple things, there've been a lot of experiments done on the impact to yourself of just forcing yourself to smile. How does that change your brain chemistry?
I've read that. Yeah.
And that's fascinating to me, because we're talking about a physical thing. You're not feeling happy, but you force yourself to smile, and how that changes your outlook.
It's real.
And then also smiling and doing small positive things for other people that are unexpected. How that impacts them. It's contagious in a way, just like negativity can be. But that resiliency, that accepting that your fate is in your hands.
Only your hands.
Yeah.
That's it.
And it takes the blame game out of the equation, when you start thinking that way. And that is one of the things that benefited me so much, coming from a pretty rough town that had no opportunity in it. I just didn't. I hate to say that, but but what it did is it forced you into that mentality. We're not rich. I have no opportunity here. There is nobody that's going to save me. Put it on your back and carry it, and get up every morning and do it again. And that's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
But that old saying of embrace the suck.
Yeah. That's another way of saying it.
You kind of have to get that in your head. You can't wallow, because if you wallow, it all fails around you. And I know you've been through some adversity in life too. Talk about some, so you got that, you heard that saying, it resonated with you. Where were your biggest failure points? What was your biggest adversity? Where you really had to test that?
The hardest thing is, I've always had faith. It needed to grow and evolve.
Right.
As you have come to faith. When you have adversity, where do you go with that fault? You got to look in the mirror and say, it's part of me. Coming to the faith, like you said earlier, gives you the strength to get through the rough times. And man, when you've got a wife and kids and you got to pay a mortgage, and all of a sudden you don't have a job, nobody's going to help you.
Right.
Faith helps you, but you gotta. It's funny, you know, when people talk about praying for things when things get tough. There's no atheist in a foxhole in war.
Yes.
You need God all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And what that faith does, it just gives you the backbone. You got to wake up and brush yourself off, get your resume, and start looking for a job the day you get fired.
Right.
And prepare for it because they're going to have up and downs. And somewhere along the line, your faith takes a jump. And yours is new, and it's going to be different when you're 60.
Right.
And it's going to be different when you're 65. It's going to be different 2 weeks from now.
Mm-hmm. So that's something I've seen, obviously, even when I wasn't Christian, you know, looking at people as they get later in life, you know, they tend to be more faithful, you know, that faith becomes more of a part. What I'm curious of, is it because the noise settles? Or is it because you're getting closer to that day? You know, are you able to focus on it more and listen more and explore it more because you've got that time? Or is it that we're getting closer?
I think maybe your own mortality is closer.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the first thing. But I think it's knowledge, because
Right.
I've read the Bible 2 different ways, cover to cover, which is hard.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Bible in a year, which is 365 days, and you have a reading from multiple books.
Right.
And then you can still, even though I've read it twice, most people, probably 99% of the country has not. I still sometimes wonder, what is he trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
And there's these books, we've talked about a few of them. The one, I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's 365 readings, and it gives you a book like the book of John, and it says, this is what it's trying to say, and it's 1 page.
Right.
And so I think, to answer your question, maybe we have the time or the maturity. I think it goes together to say, this is what the Bible's trying to say. This
Right.
is what Christian faith it means.
Mm-hmm.
And I read something the other day. I wish I could remember it because I can't remember right now. And it said, if you don't have a religion, and I don't care if you're Buddhist or whatever, but you believe in a being
Greater than you.
bigger than you.
Yeah.
If you don't, you're the center of your own universe.
Exactly.
Is your ego so big that you're the center of the universe? That's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then how do you account for miracles?
Right. You wash them away.
Is that just luck?
Yeah. Yeah, especially as, you know, I'm not going to say I wasn't spiritual, because I was spiritual, but I made my own God.
You had your own idea of what God was.
Yes. And also, you know, it was this intellectual component to it where, you know, I saw, for instance, Christianity as humans' attempt at answering the questions that they weren't able to answer on their own, either through lack of scientific development at the time that it came, or because of needing to answer the unknowns, that we don't have that capacity. I saw it all as human creation, and also to control others.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are little components of that, but the reality is, you know, that what faith ends up bringing you, having true faith, is that resiliency. And it opens up, once you accept that, then all of your doubting, all the picking apart, all the critical analysis goes away. For me, it did.
Yeah.
Now, there are flubs and contradictions in the Bible. It's written by man. It's the Word of God, but written by man and translated 100 different ways. And we just have to accept it. That's why, for me as well, it's difficult to read. A lot of that is really tough.
It's hard.
And that's intimidating for a lot of people. It's intimidating for me. But we're not meant to fully understand every aspect of every, it's up to our interpretation is where I believe. It is the word of God, but through man's
written by man.
Abilities.
A lawyer would say hearsay.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So in the end, it's a guide to life and to faith and to submission. And that's a big key for me because it's difficult as a self-guided person, a man, that's not used to being directed, that has an ego, to truly submit to something like that.
Bigger than themselves.
Yeah, that's much bigger than yourself.
Unfortunately, I think a lot of faith, it comes with the individual's IQ. Because if you're smarter, you can understand things deeper.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a 60, 70, 80 IQ,
it's going to be tough.
That's the people Hitler was
right.
brainwashing.
Yeah.
But if you have a brain, if you're 110 or higher or something, I read somewhere where the higher your IQ, the higher and lower you can understand something.
Mm-hmm.
You understand things deeper both ways.
Right.
And, it's something as simple when you say that faith. So if the Bible's confusing to you, for the people out there that are saying, how do I take a step forward? The 10 Commandments is a pretty good start.
Yeah, it is definitely.
I have a lady friend that lives in Conway,
mm-hmm.
and she's talking to a guy, an individual lives on Lake Hamilton, wants to sell his boat.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I said, look, if you negotiate and you're interested, I'll go put my eyes on it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just drive around the lake and go. She said, you do that for me? You ever trying to buy something long distance?
Yeah.
You need to put eyes on it.
All right.
And I said, sure.
Mm-hmm.
And when in the 10 Commandments, do unto others.
As you would have
if I was trying to buy something long distance and a friend I trusted would say, hey, I'll go look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
a simple thing, but it's a big thing.
Yeah, that golden rule. If one, I hate to say if one thing because all of them are very important, but if that is one of the guiding principles, even before I was Christian, I tried to use in my business because it's about it humbles you for that second. When you think about that, put yourself in the other person's position.
Yeah.
And that's whether you're in conflict resolution, dealing with a wife, dealing with a customers, employees, whatever. And it becomes pervasive. It's throughout wherever your environment is. If you live by that, it's tough at times. But
yeah,
we talked about that. Was there anything else in the Bible, any lessons or scripture that have really kind of humbled you, like really grabbed on and put you in your place or changed the way you thought?
Yeah, since I've read it a couple of times, yes, there's quite a few, but I had an employee, a 16-year employee, one time when I was at the CBS station and I was a manager there. I didn't have any turnover for 18 years. I didn't have a single person leave. And one day, a lady that had a couple of kids and she was divorced, and she asked me where I got my faith.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I had to develop it. And I said, the Bible's simple. And she said, what do you mean? And I said, I read somewhere that if you take people and you ask them, if you were to be face to face with God, what would you ask them? So I'll ask you, if you were face to face, you have 5 minutes to see in person God, you can ask one question. What would you ask him? So you got to have a reaction right now. Got to have an answer.
Well, I mean,
the
first thing is that comes to me is, why do you love us so much?
That's a good question.
What made us so different than the rest of the beings and animals on the earth?
Well, the answer's in the Bible, and we're here for his entertainment. But the real answer is he wants us to be happy.
Right.
And I can't remember. I'd have to look it up. It's in my scripture reading. And there's a scripture that says his goal for us is to enjoy life and give a good day's work for a good day's pay.
Mm-hmm.
So go to work, be productive, and enjoy your life.
All right.
It's that simple.
And that is a perfect segue into where we want to go here, is that enjoyment of life.
Absolutely.
Because we're talking about sacrifice, we're talking about responsibilities and working through difficult times and resiliency that faith offers, and just drive and accepting responsibility for your own, accomplishments and
progress.
Deficits. But looking at an enjoyment of life, again, I like to call it a blueprint. There's a blueprint that can be expanded or contracted based on, what you want, but there's some core pieces to it.
Oh, absolutely.
That can help us set our path for life. In your experience, accepting your responsibilities, knowing it was on your back with God's guidance, is a big part of it. But I've always been one that tries to set those achievements out there. And that's hard to do sometimes. It's hard to be realistic about it. And it's really hard with setbacks that life throws at you to have a time frame that you're trying to work around.
Time's ticking.
Yeah. But how did you what did you find that eventually you're like, this is fulfillment of life, and these are the core things that I want, and this is how I'm going to get there?
Well, part of it was that section of the Bible, and I'm sorry I can't quote it now, but we're here for God's entertainment, but he loves us and he wants us to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
But happy is offshore for you, but people have never been offshore. They don't know. Happy might be squirrel hunting. Happy might be sitting home watching Binge and Netflix.
Right.
What makes you happy? There's 350 million people,
mm-hmm.
and 350 million ways of being happy.
Right.
But you got to kind of have a blueprint like you were talking about. Okay, for me, it was family.
Right.
I got to make enough money to take care of my family. We're not being rich, just wanted to keep the air conditioning running and have food on the table.
Mm-hmm.
So that blueprint is going to be different for every single person, but family and faith.
All right.
And in America, we have the freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll do the 4 F's. Firearms is the last one.
Right.
Because that guarantees the first 3.
Yeah.
And I think two things bring people to God. And the number one thing is bad times.
Mm-hmm.
People wait until something bad happens.
And then
they start
talking.
praying.
Yep.
And some stay that way and some don't.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen the movie Oh God?
I have not.
You guys are so young. Okay. John Denver and George Burns.
Mm-hmm. Oh, George Burns plays God.
George Burns is God.
Yeah, I do remember.
And I have, they did too. They did a God too.
Mm-hmm.
And John Denver is a sack boy at the grocery store.
Right.
But in the movie, and I've used this for people that needed some counseling and were hurting and they want to give up. And George Burns and this little kid are walking, and the little kid says, God, why do bad things happen to good people? And he said, well, you throw a ball, right? And he said, yeah, well, when you throw it up, what happens? He said, well, it comes down. He said, right. And he touches him, I think, on the chest. He says, this is a front, but you got to have a back.
Right.
And he said, well, how do you know what's good if you haven't had bad?
Mm-hmm.
So bad things happen to everybody.
Right.
You have to plan for that, accept that, know it's coming,
mm-hmm.
and handle it in your own way. But I'm here, he said, I'm here to
not let
handle
it dominate.
Know in your life,
yeah,
you're 50 years old. Some bad's coming.
Mm-hmm. And it's happened. I've gotten to see some of it.
So you have to know, and you have to, say, God, okay, how do I get through this?
Yep.
And even if you don't say it that way, you just, lean on God and pray
mm-hmm.
and know that the good's coming. Remember what George Burns said, there's up, there's down.
Right.
And there's good and there's bad.
Well, and it makes you appreciate, and that's the key. You've got to have that base.
Appreciate when it's good.
When it's good. And knowing that it's fragile, It might not last forever, but man, take it in when you've got it and appreciate it. And I know that that's kind of, where because of all your ups and downs in life, and you're at a place right now, how does your retirement look like now? You say you started out when, and where are we at now?
I really started thinking about retirement when I hit 50,
right?
Where you are now.
Mm-hmm.
And because you start seeing the end.
Yeah.
And what do I want to be when I'm 65, and plan for it?
Mm-hmm.
You've got to plan for it. You've got to save. You've got to look at what you have now.
Right.
And I was very lucky. My best friend since the 7th grade not only was a real financial planner, everybody on the planet's a financial planner. He's been a financial planner since 1973.
Wow.
He knows stuff. And he's also, when he was dead broke driving a 1967 Mustang with no air conditioning, 3-speed on the floor, he signed a note to help build a church, a non-denominational church. And since then, he's done 3 or 4.
Right.
And he's got a son that is a minister, went to the seminary school in Dallas. And his brother, who was a lieutenant in the Marine Corps in Vietnam, is a minister. So that's a real strong people to lean on.
Right.
So he knew God and knew finance.
A good combo.
Yeah. So I didn't make a lot of money, but I made enough to say, I'm going to have this much money per month the rest of my life.
Right.
You got to do that. If you haven't done it by now, when you're 50, for the people out there listening, if it is to be, it's up to me.
Right.
You need to go talk to somebody today.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that, it was brought up even in my younger years, but the numbers are just there now. I have never looked at Social Security as something that I was going to be able to depend on.
Right.
So all of my equations have been with that off the table.
That's a good idea.
And if it's still around, great. That's gravy. Yeah, but I'm not planning on it.
Government control.
Yeah,
and they can change that tomorrow.
Exactly. So back to the self-reliance, that is how I've approached things. And luckily, because of the way that I've just in general approached finances over my whole life, not, always having a little backup, trying to save. There was untouchable money. I have benefited from that. Haven't always made the best decisions at it, but it's been incremental and consistent.
You had exceptionally good advice.
Yeah. Well, it was, I think God actually pushed me that direction.
You see that?
So,
you see, look back and see that.
Because that was the only thing that was in my control. I knew that I wanted to save. I didn't know exactly how, but I at least started with something. And I started with something that I was in control of, that was an amount that I could give a little more here, give a little less then, but it always worked. But, one of the things that, you were a go-getter, you were hustling, you were opening up businesses, you were doing restaurants, tanning salons, that's kind of where, I've been at, as an entrepreneur, and now families in the businesses and all those things. And it's at this phase in life, you start looking down the road. You got a first grandkid coming. Life's passing pretty quick.
Clock's ticking. I'm getting older.
But that it's a transition. It's not like just being able to switch a light switch off. You've lived this entire life striving and pushing and taking on risk, and the energy and that takes and that it creates. How do you switch it? I mean, how did you, where did you put your points out there? And
I wish I could answer that question, because It's funny. We're talking about being 50. I'm sitting here and saying that was 26 years ago.
Right.
I'm like, whoa, if I knew what I knew today and I could go back to 50, I'd have 10 times the money. Yep. But you can't. You've got to go through life, and you got to stumble, and you got to make your mistakes. But back to your point a while ago, all those are going to happen. Mistakes are going to happen. Bad things are going to happen. You need a blueprint.
Right.
this is where I'm going. I'm going to have these bumps along
So
the way.
let's take it back to my age. We're kind of in similar situations. Where you were at my age.
Oh man.
What would you tell me? What would you tell Wayne at 51?
Like I put in there, get the S&P 500, put every extra dime in it.
Right.
That's the best return for the last 150 years.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to enjoy your life, enjoy your family. And because when you get old, Noah and Gabe Jr. and your grandkids are going to be where you get your joy in life.
Right. And that's,
and you're going to be grateful. Your faith is going to grow because if you're smart, you understand, God helped you get here. God can, I believe in destiny, predestiny.
Mm-hmm.
He knows when the day we're going to die.
Right.
That's the only way you can explain, 3 people in a car and a car gets crushed and one person doesn't have a scratch.
Right.
And so there's no single simple answer. Just to tell anybody young out there listening, do a plan, explore your faith, let it come to you. You can't force it.
Mm-hmm.
Because faith that is forced, I think, is not strong or fake.
Right.
I want to know God. I want to. No, you don't.
You got to.
Because if you did, you would.
Right.
I have to say on the farm, pray for rain, but pick up the shovel. And what that means is God's there, but you got to do your part.
Right. Right.
God will make it rain, but he can't put the seed in the ground.
Exactly.
You got to put the seed in the ground.
Right.
So let that seed be like a seed of your faith. Start somewhere, start reading if you are inquisitive. Otherwise, go to the 10 Commandments and live your life right and hope that it comes to you.
Yeah. Well, in your retirement now, what brings you the most fulfillment? I know family is huge. And I want to, let's talk about that. I want to go back to family in a second, but go ahead and let's fill that in.
I call it the Huckleberry Finn syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of confusion is because people are individual with individual experience and individual IQ. Back to what we talked about IQ. I love travel because I like to, as Huckleberry Finn, I want to see what's around the next bend.
All right.
I have that inquisitive mind. So that's like the trip I just did to St. Lucia. It's all new.
Yep.
Every day we're doing someplace new, seeing stuff new. And if you don't have that, that's fine. Because you have a different personality. There's no real answer to that.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, you don't have to have that inquisitive nature if you got a lot of grandkids and kids.
Yep.
The adventure comes to you.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's 100% of your enjoyment in life, absolutely no better time ever spent.
Right.
Because when you're gone, they're going to think of you as your experience with them was.
Right.
Like I remember my grandfather putting that shiner on my hook.
Mm-hmm.
I named my son after my grandfather.
Right.
And I remember my uncle teaching me to weld.
Yeah. It's those little things that,
like I said earlier, pulling the dollar bill out
the crisp.
Never got over that.
Yeah.
60 years.
I think that's one of the things that we as husbands and especially fathers and friends, we don't understand the impact of small things that we can have on other people. And especially when you're dealing with younger people, they're watching you. They're watching you for 100%. The good and the bad. And that's really back to legacy, that's what we're leaving. It's not always your kids. I mean, that's your big one. That's your blood. Those are the ones that you are absolutely responsible for, that carry on everything, that your family will be in the future. But it's all those other people that you can touch as well and how they carry it. Because I know you've mentioned that, you've had some mentors in life.
Yeah.
When you started, your uncle stepped in as a father figure. Then you had the guys in business that kind of mentored you.
Great mentors.
I've had those as well. And without them, man, that's tough. But we all have that capacity, to be a mentor to someone, to help guide. And that's part of what we're trying to do here today. But, for you, travel, experience,
Oh, love it.
exploring things. One of the things that, amazed me with you is kind of coming from not being a rich guy, not coming from a wealthy background, kind of seeing that world from afar and being able to be, at least understand what's out there. You kind of found your own way to experience some of that with the limitations that you had financially, but that's part of setting a plan up.
That's the blueprint.
That's kind of your blueprint.
Yeah.
I think that can be applied, towards anyone,
Everything.
Yeah.
Anything and everything.
It may not be this direct line. I've got to make a lot of money in order to do this. There may be a little workaround. I did it. I'd like for you to share kind of
you've traveled a lot more than I have,
Yeah.
and I've traveled a lot more than most people.
Right.
When I graduated from college, it was City National Bank, and they offered free checking for college graduates.
Mm-hmm.
Silly stuff. So I went and I said, can I get 2 checking accounts? And they said, what for? So my second checking account was a travel account.
Mm.
And this is a long time ago, but I would
Right.
put $25 or $50 from every paycheck into my travel account.
Mm-hmm.
So when we had a ski trip, and man, you could go to Aspen and ski for a week and come back for $600.
Right.
That was airfare and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got back my trip, I could pay cash for my trip.
Right.
But every month and every check, that was my blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where I'm going, but I
Well,
know
I'm
I
gonna
want to go
somewhere. Yeah.
And I do it today because I'm
Right.
on a fixed income. I'm retired.
Mm-hmm.
But I have 3 accounts I put money in. And one is a travel account of
Right.
X money. So if I go, get back, write a check on a credit card, and it's
Mm-hmm.
paid for.
Well, one of the experiences, one of the greatest experiences of my life and with my family was, and kind of how we got to know each other was when you had your
Trip to the Bahamas.
Yeah, boat down in Fort Lauderdale, and just looking again from afar, the way you structured that, it kind of a business opportunity,
Yeah.
you got your feet wet, let you experience that,
Yeah.
and even today, I mean, talk a little bit about what's your life like today?
Well, the same thing. I like sailing.
Mm-hmm.
I've always loved sailing. I started sailing in 1981.
Right.
Oh, actually, probably earlier than that. I had friends that raced on Lake Pontchartrain.
Pontchartrain, yeah.
And we raced from Mandeville to Pontchartrain.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mandeville to the Lake Shore in
Lakeshore,
New
yeah,
Orleans.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's how I started sailing.
Mm-hmm.
And then had a love for it. That led to me getting my own boat. And
Mm-hmm.
then doing trips today with friends.
Right.
And we just pay for the trip.
Right.
And so I've had this plan for 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the blueprint.
Yep.
All those people out there, you got to have a plan. Bad things are going to happen, but you got to have a goal,
That you're working toward.
and you can get knocked down and keep going towards your goal.
Well, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but you getting your boat down in Fort Lauderdale, it was you and your son,
Yeah.
is that correct?
We were partners.
Yeah. So, it wasn't Wayne going out stroking a big check and just that
Oh,
being
God.
Wayne's boat.
I couldn't.
I mean, y'all did the charter?
We did the yeah.
Yeah.
We just it was in a charter program.
Charter program
where
to
we
help
got
cover-
on it
Right.
for that trip,
Mm-hmm.
and so the charter program helped pay.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
help pay for the boat.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
but it was allowing y'all to have that
It
access.
paid
and
for our
that-
adventure.
Exactly. And that's something that again,
You understand
not
it really
coming
means-
from a lot of money, but coming from a lot of desire to go and experience life.
How am I going to do that?
You have to figure your way around, and it's not always a direct line. The way I started my offshore adventures was I had a taste from it. My dad gave us that opportunity to taste it. And when that gets in your blood, you can't shake it. And I knew I wanted it. I knew that's what I wanted to do. I couldn't afford to do it.
Oh yeah, like
So I had to find another way around it.
I never made a dime on that boat.
Right, right.
Boats.
Yeah, no. If
you
you
break even,
if you
you're
can break
lucky.
even, you're ahead of the game. But that's what I started. Deckhanding and getting these groups together and driving them down to South Louisiana, and I was able to learn not only about the fishery, but about the people that were going.
Yeah.
And what were they enjoying? I mean, obviously they enjoyed the fish, catching the fish. But what I learned is that it's more about the experience. It's about the cooking. It's about the stories. It's about playing guitar. It's about
simple as going to get your groceries.
Yeah,
what are we going to eat?
And so now in your life, and I keep up with you on a little jealous. I'll be honest with you. Your trips just like to St. Lucia.
Oh man!
If you had to do that on your own, just normal, I mean, that's a massive expense. But you found a way to not only do it, but take other people, show them that enjoyment, and I'm sure you get some enjoyment out of seeing them.
It's a blast, and then to see people that have never ever done anything like that,
mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden they're like, "We're 48 hours on a trip," and one of them said, "Where are we going next?" And not to mention, I won't say names, but I have a friend that did a boat trip similar, and it was $7,000 for a week.
Right.
The way we do it, it's $3,000.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nobody makes any money, but we have our own adventure, and we're saving 50%.
Right. So it's just you found that way.
I help them, they help me. We all have fun, and we all have an adventure.
Right. And that's kind of how my little adventures down into South Louisiana are still today.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of those responsibilities to yourself. You find ways to.
If it is to be, it's up to me.
Yep.
This is what I want to do. How do I get there?
And so that's been something that I've really admired. And the other thing is, like we all know, we're getting older. I mean, every day the clock's ticking. Yeah. One of the things that I've seen, especially being in the medical field, is that as we get older, our body wants to fail on us. We hurt. I'm starting to see that now. Every morning,
something else hurts.
Something else hurts. Yeah, things that I never thought would are. I'm sure you obviously have lived through that. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? What keeps you going where you see other people just kind of give up and vegetate and then they're gone? I mean, that's what I've seen. You give up.
Yeah.
It's done.
Number one, it's a real simple answer. Keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get up. You have to move. Take a walk, swim, bike, whatever you want to do. Keep moving.
Yeah.
I was having this conversation last week with somebody and said, I can see easily if you quit being active, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
Everything hurts. I've had surgery on both shoulders, both knees, feet, everything. And so every step I take hurts. But I played pickleball for 2 or 3 hours. I climbed a mountain in St. Lucia with flip-flops on.
Right.
But we had this conversation with a friend, a little older than you, but I said, the key is keep moving. You're going to hurt.
Right.
Don't use it as an excuse.
Exactly. Yeah, that's one of the things that I see. I know it's existed throughout human history, but especially now with our population not understanding physical labor. With physical labor comes pain, comes pushing yourself, comes understanding that where you start isn't going to be where you finish, that you can work through things. So many people I see now, the first hurt that they really have, they're wanting a pill, they're wanting to go to the doctor, they're wanting to get off of it, ice it down. I mean, that is a recipe for a quick incapacitation in life, from what I've seen from my patient base, and actually friends now that are a few years ahead of me. Once you lose it, you can say that you want to gain it back. No. The chances of you gaining that back are almost zero.
And it gets worse as you get older.
Right.
Like this morning, I was playing pickleball with all people. They're all 59s. Pickleball competition has age groups. So their age group is 65 to 69.
Right.
Mine is 75 to 79.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm playing with people 15 years younger or 10 years younger. And me and another guy, we beat everybody there this morning. But everything hurts.
Right. Yeah.
And I have every gadget known to man that you can buy.
Right.
I lay on the floor with a
roller
vibrating thing on my L4, L5.
Mm-hmm.
But if you stop, you're done.
Yeah. And I think that fragility needs to be recognized.
Oh, it's terrible.
The fragility of you don't use it, you lose it. And if people will just keep that
and
in
it
mind,
gets worse every day.
Yeah, you just got to keep pushing because, even with all the obstacles and all the difficult things that life throws at you, life is still worth living. And I think,
I enjoy every minute.
Yeah. So
and I was laying on the couch. I was binging because I was gone for 3 weeks, and they had the first episode of Dutton Ranch.
Right. Yeah.
So when I got back, and then I had my son here for a week, so it was about 4 weeks. I went 4 weeks without watching television.
Right.
Nobody can say that this day almost. So I had 5 episodes of Dutton Ranch to watch.
Right.
And one day it was hot outside and air conditioning on. I sat there and watched TV for 5 hours, and I said, boy, am I wasting myself? And the answer was, I said, that definition of being happy, isn't it doing what you want to do?
Right. Yeah.
So at that moment,
that was what you wanted.
I was happy
doing
what I want to do. Now I'm capable of getting up and doing other things. But
that was it.
That was it. But the number one advice to your question about just if you stop moving, you're done.
Right. Well, let's cover a couple of decades.
Okay.
So we're going to do a little quick rundown. I want your advice on the guys out there that are in their 20s.
Oh, God.
In your 20s, rewind it back. I know we've talked about the investment component. I'm in a total agreement with that. You do that as early as you can. And
guy in the 20s not investing anything. He's buying the new car and he's new truck. And
so what is your advice to that guy in his 20s?
Well, if your 20s have fun,
right,
you got time. So 20s have fun.
Right.
If you're smart, probably 1 in 1,000 is thinking about investment in 401ks and IRAs. They're chasing women and they want big fancy cars and they want to have fun.
What do you think about starting a family in your 20s?
Well, funny story. I have a buddy that owns a Coldwell Banker in Shreveport, and he's his kids. We went to a thing later. His kids are exactly 10 years younger than mine. So when my son was 36, his was 46, and when my daughter was 30, his was 40.
Right.
And he looked at me one day, and I guess we were in our 40s there, and he said, because see, my kids were young. I had a daughter when I was 40. And he said, because we were at a old college meeting.
Right.
He said, I can't believe I'm looking at you or your kids. He said, so when I was 26, I had my kid. No, when I was 30, he said, I had my first kid. I was 40 when I had my last one. He said, I can't remember my kids. Like because I was older, you're interacting with your kids. He said, in your 20s, all you're doing is trying to survive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make a money, pay your rent, probably don't own the house yet. And so he said, I had 3 kids. I don't even remember what you're doing.
I can relate.
So 20s, I'm telling people just
live life.
Live life, have fun.
You got time. So, okay, let's bump up to the 30s.
30s, you should be thinking about investing. You should be thinking about your future, but you're probably changing diapers and not getting much sleep. You're trying to climb the corporate ladder, or if you have your own business, you're working 7 days a week.
Yep.
So if you're smart and if your dad says, where's your IRA and 401k? He says, man, I bought a new truck. He said, so 30s, you might, if you're smart, start planning.
Right.
The best thing you have, like I have a daughter that's 36, got divorced, single mom, 2 kids, but she is one of 2 in the United States that does what she does, and never had to look for a job. She quit her last job. She's making a lot of money and quit because she didn't like her boss.
All right.
And had companies calling her within 2 weeks. Had another job, and she said, I want to start that soon.
All right.
So at 36, but she got some money, and I helped her put it invested, and said, with what you have now, you don't have to worry. I said, when you're 65, you're going to have $3 million.
All right.
Plus whatever you get.
Yeah.
So mid-30s, you have a chance, if you're smart and would listen to somebody, to set yourself up for when you're 65.
Yeah.
So then you go 40s and your kids are getting older and you might have college and all that stuff. And that's tough. 40s are tough.
Yeah. 40s for me were when I realized how little I really knew.
Yeah.
I was starting to put it all together.
You
You know,
started to
30s, I was pretty, man, I knew everything. I felt like.
I'm
But,
smart.
Yeah, because you had kind of gotten out of the stupidity of 20s and, you were starting to succeed and drive and push and you had all the energy. And
40,
yeah.
if you have good advice, you're setting yourself up for retirement.
Right.
Because you got 25 years at 65.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I was dumb and I didn't start really concentrating on that till I was 50. And then I went,
so we got 50 where I'm sitting right now. So at 50, everything starts becoming real clear.
You blink your eye. When you wake up and you're 50, you blink your eyes and you're 65.
Right.
You better have a plan.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't involve Social Security.
Mm-hmm.
Stock market's volatile. You got to have a plan.
Right.
So if you're out there listening and you're 50, 55, you don't have a plan, you better have a plan.
Yeah.
One of the guys on a recent boat trip is retired Air Force. It's got a really good retirement. And he is got a second job that he really loves. And he asked me on the trip, because we started talking about finance and stuff, and he said, and he's mid-40s. I think he's 42. Mm-hmm. And he said, he said, I see your retirement. You're having fun. How do I get there?
All right.
And I gave him some advice, and it was talked to. He didn't want to tell me, I don't want your particulars. I don't need to know how much cash you have and how your retirement's going to be and all that stuff. But I gave him a number of somebody to call. Go sit down.
Right.
Tell them your plan.
Mm-hmm.
And someone like Fisher Investments, I don't want to use the name, but they don't have fees on a lot of their products, most of their products. Right. Fees come up. You grow, they grow. Yeah. I like Fisher. Mm-hmm. And you can also do a Vanguard account.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I really like. All the both the boys and the girls, that's really what we push. That index fund, low fees, easy, no decision to make, just keep pushing it in there.
Well, you can have your own Vanguard.
Yeah, you can have your own Vanguard.
I think it's zero fees.
Yeah.
Because they make money off investing your money.
Right.
And you can have a self-directed Vanguard and do it on the index fund connected to the S&P 500.
Yeah. Put that in a Roth and
forget it.
You're rolling.
Forget it.
Yeah. Simple stuff. Don't overcomplicate it. Just do something.
But have a plan. If you're 50, have a plan.
Yeah. And so 60s.
That's scary.
Yeah.
It's getting scary. Depends on your health.
Right.
Are you married or not?
Mm-hmm.
When you get a divorce, you lose half. That puts a kink in some things.
Right.
But if you're 60, it's still not too late to have a plan.
Right.
You got to find somebody you trust that knows, because, boy, there's a lot of bad advice out there. Mm-hmm. But kind of what we're talking about, if you have a chunk of money, put it in a Vanguard account.
Right. Don't get desperate. That's one of the things that I've seen that has been horrible to watch, is that once people get in their 50s and 60s, they start looking for the desperation move. I've got to make up this amount of money.
Well, they chase high rate of return. It's dangerous.
It kills you.
You have to be safe.
Yeah.
My buddy, I mentioned that we've been best friends since the 7th grade and has been a financial planner his whole life. He told me a shocking statistic. It's changed, but this was years ago, that 95% of people over 40 years old in America that are working don't have $10,000 in cash.
Right.
95%. And he gave me an example. Somebody I knew, he said, my cross-street neighbor, and I knew him real well. We played racquetball together. He's this is 30 years ago, in a $500,000 home, beautiful home, 2 Mercedes out front that he leased. And one day I asked him, why you and your wife both have Mercedes? And he said, well, it's our image for our business. And my brain is saying, is that image paying you any money?
All right.
Why don't you go get a brand new Caprice or something?
Yep.
People like that, my friend lived in this exclusive Jack Nicklaus neighborhood, and all the homes are very nice.
Right.
They're all $2 million homes now. And he said, I got a neighbor that's like that. Big, beautiful home, 2 brand new Mercedes, and they live check to check.
Yeah.
If something happened to his job or his company, they'd be broke.
Back to that judging the book by the cover there.
Image. It was all image.
Right.
Keeping up with the Joneses that you mentioned a long time ago.
Crippling. It is crippling.
I don't care. Have you ever read the book, The Millionaire Next Door?
I have not.
Have you ever heard of it?
I have heard of it, yes.
And the Millionaire Next Door driving an old pickup truck.
Right.
But he's worth millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Something to be said
Follow
about
that guy.
that.
For people here, listen, go get that book.
Right.
The Millionaire Next Door.
Yeah. Well, what's left for Wayne?
Well, my number one job every day is my health.
Right.
I've lost about 25 pounds the last 3 years. My son got me on the carnivore diet.
Right.
When you get 60, you better start paying attention to your health. What you eat, what you drink. I drink almost nothing anymore, alcohol-wise.
Right.
Funny, my daughter, I mentioned, works for Carbless. And I've had so little alcohol that if I drink 2 beers, I feel terrible the next day.
Right.
Her company, Carbless, not an advertisement for Carbless,
right,
but it's a vodka drink, and they do have some tequila ones, but no carbs, no sugar.
Right.
And they flavored. They have
we serve them at the restaurant.
They have Moscow Mule.
Right.
They have all margarita flavor. They have strawberry flavor, watermelon flavor, which is my new favorite. But the no carb, no sugar. The next day I don't feel bad.
Sugar is
poison.
The enemy.
It's poison.
I mean, that's been one of my greatest revelations over the past couple of years. Is what when you stop eating sugar or ingesting sugar,
it's stunning.
And then you do it again. It is crippling. I mean, it feels like I've got arthritis.
And that's what alcohol is, sugar.
Yeah, yeah.
So Carbless, her drink. It's funny. She works for that company. No carbs, no sugar.
Right.
It's got alcohol.
Takes a little of the
and I drink a couple of those on the boat or whatever, and I don't feel bad the next day. But I don't drink much at all. So back to your question, when you're over 60, you got to wait till you're retired. But I've always run almost my whole life. I started running the month or 2 after I graduated from college because I was just a cream puff man. Right. I was like the Michelin man because in college you just drink in the cafeteria. It's all junk food, potatoes and carbs. And alcohol and party, and but I've always exercised, and so now my job is
maintenance,
move and weightlifting, and I mean we played a pickleball tournament, went 2.5 hours in the hot sun, and maybe 2 5-minute breaks,
right?
And there were people a lot younger than me that
falling out,
not. And couldn't take it.
So that's your catalyst to be able to enjoy life.
Then I still go snow skiing. Right. I still scuba dive.
Yep. But you can't do those if
you're not in shape. And it doesn't matter what you do. I know some ladies that are in their 70s have a bike club. They'll ride their bikes 50 miles on a weekend. Yep. These people are 70.
And that's the key. And it's not all about. Yeah, obviously you need to keep your body moving, but it's what you're putting in your body that is so important as well.
Well, and I think dementia is a big deal.
Yeah.
And we always worried about that. Everybody's worried about it. And being active, there's a list of sports that help push back dementia or eliminate it completely. And I think that's got to do with the blood circulation of your brain.
Yeah.
But do something.
Keep moving.
And because, I mean, it's really funny. One of the people on the last boat trip, and I didn't know they were videoing me. I'm the only one. We stopped in a beautiful place, and it's on the coast. And Gabe, they had these floating platforms, sun platforms, like 8 of them. And we took the dinghy over there, and the ladies were sunning all day and stuff. And I said, the best snorkeling's right over there. So I'm the only one of all these young people, and I snorkeled. I bet it was a half-mile swim.
All right.
And I didn't know it, but one of the guys on the boat filmed me and said, okay, they could see my snorkel. There's Wayne. He's way over there. And I did that, and I swam back to the boat, and I climb up, and I'm not even breathing hard.
Right.
And all these young people, I call them young, they were all 50 and 60. Not one of them did it.
Yeah.
And I'm said, that's how I'm enjoying life.
Exactly.
Got to move. Do something.
Keep moving. Well, let's do a couple of little rapid fire questions.
Okay.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay. And some of these we've kind of hit on a little bit. What's one mistake every young man should avoid?
That's easy. It's keeping up with the Joneses, appearance.
There you go.
Doesn't matter.
Yep.
It's superficial.
What's one habit that quietly changed your life forever?
Besides food, besides what you put in your body,
Right.
I was lucky because in my 30s, the group I told you about, the family that had 7 boys and a girl,
Mm-hmm.
real Catholic.
Right.
So we're drinking and partying hard.
Right.
Every year for Lent, they quit alcohol.
They quit. Yeah.
So every year for 47 days, my body and liver got a flush out.
Right.
And I think that was an important habit.
That's a great point.
I think it kept me healthy.
Yep.
Because if you drink for 10 years, 30 to 40, your liver and alcohol and kidney never get a break.
Right.
And I look back on that, and that was a habit they had.
Mm-hmm.
And we all did it together.
Right.
So we still had our dates.
Mm-hmm.
We'd go to somebody's house and cook fresh fish and stuff.
Right.
We went to movies. We did different things, but we broke that string of always drinking.
Right. That's a good.
That was a good one.
Yeah. What matters far less than you thought it would when you were in your 30s?
Appearance, back to that.
Right.
I don't care about anything anymore. Like I said, driving an old car,
Mm-hmm.
stay healthy,
Yep.
and don't worry about what other people are doing.
There you go. What matters far more than you realized when you were in your 30s?
Well, I mean, we love our family, but when you're older
Mm-hmm.
and you're seeing grandkids, you're about to experience that. And you're going to see that grandkid from changing diapers to maybe being a high school athlete or college athlete.
Mm-hmm.
That's you think you love them now?
Yeah.
That's going to change.
Yeah, I can't wait for it.
That's going to change.
So finish this sentence. A successful man is someone who
Is happy with himself.
Yeah.
You have to start with yourself.
can't lie to yourself.
If you can't lie to yourself, number
Yeah.
one, but if you are not happy with yourself, you're not going to be happy with anybody else.
Right. That's a good point. If you could leave your children with only one lesson, what would it be?
Truth and honesty. When my kids were young, and teenagers rebel, and I'm sure your boys got in some trouble, and mine got in some trouble.
Right.
And so when they and we always had alcohol around them. Not that we drank a lot at home. We were Baptists
Right.
for all intents and purposes. But when they were 15, 16, and they're hearing their friends talk, I'd say, you want to taste beer? You want to taste a glass of wine?
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to taste some whiskey or scotch? And introduced them to alcohol at home.
Right.
And so it wasn't taboo. If
Yeah,
it's taboo,
that's
what
how
are they
we
going to do
grew
as
up.
soon as they leave the house?
Right.
What was the song that said, take a glass of water and make it against the law?
Mm.
The Creedence Clearwater?
Yep.
And I remember my daughter, it's funny, when she was 12, I had a glass of scotch on the table. She thought it was iced tea. And she took a big swig of scotch.
That
She
woke
still
her up a little.
she still jokes about that. She said, she's asked me, she spit it out. And she
Yeah.
said, is that what alcohol tastes like? I said, yeah.
Yeah.
She didn't drink till she was like 18.
Right. Right.
She said, but she did it to herself.
Yeah.
So, I always taught my kids, I said, I will love you forever, but I'm only going to trust you once.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever lie to me.
Right.
You get trouble, get arrested, something, call me first.
Yep. And let's work through it.
And I'm not going to tell the story, but that actually didn't get arrested, but they had some trouble and called me first.
Mm-hmm.
And we got out of the trouble.
Right.
And because they did that, I never mentioned it ever again.
Yep.
Don't bring it up in a fight.
Mm-hmm.
Don't bring it up when you're screaming. But I told them that. I'll love you forever, but I'm only going to trust you once. So
Yep.
truth and honesty.
That's it.
Big deal.
Big one. If your 25-year-old self could see your life today,
Have no idea.
what would surprise him the most?
Probably I'm still alive. I think what I can do.
Right.
And seeing other people my age, even 60,
Right.
can't do it.
Yeah.
And fitness.
Yeah.
Is
Because when you're 25 and you're looking at someone 75, 77.
Oh, you're bulletproof when you're 25.
Yeah.
I ripped this hand open, literally playing pickleball, bent it, and it popped open, and you could see the bones.
Right.
I had to have an ortho put it back together. So when I'm doing my physical therapy and I'm final checkup, and he gives you that little grippy thingy.
Right.
And he said, squeeze as hard as you can. And he said, you have the grip of a 25-year-old bodybuilder. I said, well, I have one of those things.
Right.
And my hands
Just
are
keep working it.
My hands are insanely strong.
Right.
But work on it.
But what are you still chasing at 75 or 77? I'm sorry.
70, almost 70, 76.
Yeah, 76. Yeah.
You know, you always chase happiness. You want to be happy. And, but I think when you get older, if something doesn't make you happy, you can get rid of it real quick. They call it cranky old man. I just say I'm honest.
Right.
you have less, you don't suffer fools.
Yeah.
You don't have the time for that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
No BS. Life's no BS right now.
Exactly. Yep. Just living it to live it. Yeah.
Every day.
Oh, if it's to be,
it's up to me.
There you go.
And it's still there.
Yep.
If I have a goal, I had a goal in 2019. I'd never been to Europe. I kept waiting to have a girlfriend or new spouse, whatever.
Right.
I finally said, I'm going. And I spent 46 days backpacking.
Yeah, I enjoyed following you on that one.
Every day I wrote 2 stories,
Yep.
and it's still in Facebook. And then for Christmas one year, my daughter Brooke had a book made. And that book is sitting on my nightstand. And sometimes I pick it up and say, damn, I did all that. And so I just went.
Yeah.
And so that was a goal.
Right. Right. Set those goals and find a way to make them happen.
Now I want to go to South America.
Yeah. That's one of mine. I want to go to Argentina.
Oh.
Yeah. No, that's always been a bucket list for me. So
you got plenty of time.
I need to put my pen out there, and we're carrying on, make it happen.
I'm going to go to Australia and visit my cousins.
Right. Right.
They're mid-40s, no kids, got a big house in Adelaide on the coast.
Mm-hmm.
There's a place to go white shark diving.
I might just hop on with you.
A 45-minute flight. When I go, I'm going to stay 3 months.
Wow.
If this foot surgery I have to have in November hadn't come up, because their seasons are opposite.
Right, right.
And they said come in October, November.
Yeah.
It's like their fall.
Well, got to keep living life.
Keep living.
As long as God allows us to be here.
Put one foot in front of the other and keep going.
Well, Wayne, you've been an inspiration to me. I appreciate your time. We've covered a lot of ground, and hopefully given people some lessons in life, some blueprint to that, some fundamentals that you've succeeded with, and in faith and family and purpose, and focusing on those things
and fun.
Don't
forget fun.
Don't forget fun. Well, you definitely have it. You've been an inspiration to me on that, and I appreciate you being in my life. And like I said, wish you well, and can't wait to keep up with your adventures.
Well, we'll do it again sometime.
All right, brother.
Okay.
Well, thank you.